Hello everyone! I'm back again with a bunch of questions from October 19. Let's begin. Part 1. Describe the furniture in your home. Well, we have in the living room, we've got this huge wood and glass dining table. It's a 6-seater, which is kind of odd because there's just me and mom and dad in my family. So we've never really used it except for this one time when I had this birthday party when I was 11 years old. And then we have this TV unit. It's actually called a showcase here, which is, again, it's actually pretty nice. It's got a unique little design. It's made of light colored wood. But yeah, we haven't used it as a TV unit in a really long time because, we stopped subscribing to cable a long time ago. Then, of course, we have the usual. We have a wooden coffee table. We've got 2 sofas because, the living room is kind of big. And then we have the usual. We have 3 beds total. We've got, wardrobes made out of wood. We have a vanity with a mirror, and we've got a whole bunch of side tables strewn all about the home. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, in the kitchen, of course, we have a whole bunch of drawers and stuff, and we have a counter that we've kind of set up as an island because normally kitchens here don't really come with islands. Which piece of furniture is your favorite? Honestly, I don't really have like a favorite piece of furniture, but I do spend a lot of time, using the computer table because of my work. I'm essentially there for like 12 hours a day. But I will say that I really like my bed as well. I love taking naps, and sleep is really important for me, so I need to have a comfortable bed because, I mean, hey, you spend like a huge chunk of your day sleeping, right? But yeah, so yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Is there any furniture that you dislike? Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with that huge dining table. Honestly, it's useless. Come on, we're just 3 people. We should have purchased a cute small dining table, but then it's kind of odd because the room is huge. So a smaller dining table might look kind of weird, but I mean, you could work with the placement and stuff. It's just it's taking up so much space. I just get annoyed when I think about it. I mean, we had an electrician come over last week, and even he said, "Why do you have such a huge dining table when you've got just 3 people in the home?" Did anyone ever give you furniture as a gift? No, no, not at all. All the furniture that we have, we've purchased it for ourselves. And you know what? It's kind of odd. I mean, who gives people furniture? I mean, first of all, furniture is always so heavy unless you're talking about like one chair maybe or a small table or something. But it's still quite heavy, right? And like, I don't know. I feel like furniture is it's a personal choice how you choose to decorate your home. No one can really, I mean, it's a hit or miss kind of thing. And, it's not like you give somebody a pen or something, they don't like it, and that's okay. It's such a tiny thing. But furniture is huge. If you don't like it, what are you supposed to do? Return it? I don't think that's possible. What kind of furniture would you like to buy? You know what? We don't have a recliner. So I'd love to buy one because I have this thing where like I sit for like 12 to 15 hours a day. And so I need to elevate my legs. I'd love to have like a huge, comfortable recliner where I could put my feet up while working. I tend to have like back problems, so I think that kind of thing would be great for me. I mean, ultimately, when I have my own home, the style that I want to do things up in is a very 1800s inspired kind of style. I love Rococo interiors, and that's kind of like my dream home. It'll have Rococo interiors along with all of the beautiful, 18th century inspired furniture. Of course, originals can be way too expensive, but yeah, that's my ideal style. That's what I'd like in terms of ideal styles of furniture. Would you ever buy used furniture? Yeah, honestly, I mean, I don't see the problem with that, because wood is a pretty versatile material. Even if there are, dents or chips, I think you can get it repaired and stuff, as long as, it's not horribly disfigured or something. Because, you can find a lot of great vintage stuff and antique stuff, and I think A lot of new furniture that I see online on websites, it looks kind of soulless. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just so bland and boring. I hate modern design. And now, obviously, if you're gonna, look at thrift stores, or if you're interested in antique furniture, I mean, of course, it's gonna be used, right? But there's some really amazing. I mean, I'm part of this Facebook group called Weird Secondhand Finds that just need to be shared, and people consistently post the most wonderful things. They have these amazing couches and tables and chairs and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, if it's in good condition, why not? Okay, let's go on to part two. Talk about a time when you saw a child misbehaving in public. Please say where it was, what the child was doing, how others reacted to it, and explain how you felt about this. So this was a long time ago when me and my mom went shopping at this department store, and it's this huge place which has everything you could possibly need for your home, for yourself, for your kids, and all that. So we were on the second floor, and we heard this kid crying, and we were just walking, and we walked past the toy aisle. So yeah, that's where the kid was, and he was crying like really loudly. Not that I was surprised. It's kind of common for kids to do that, right? But he was pretty much throwing a full-on temper tantrum, and his face was like red, with all the frustration. And I remember he had this little teddy bear kind of thing in his hand. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it looked similar. And his poor mom was there trying to, convince him that he didn't really need that. And the usual. She was telling him how he already had so many toys. Why does he need more? And he was just not willing to listen. And he was crying while he was talking, so I couldn't really make out what he was saying, but it was obvious he really wanted that toy. And what he did was he took a bunch of toys from the shelves and he threw them on the floor. Thankfully, they were just soft toys, so there was no damage. But everybody around, like, we were like, none of us were like shocked or anything. I mean, it's a pretty common sight, really. I'm pretty sure most of us, I know I did. I felt really bad for his mom. It's difficult to not have sympathy. Obviously, everybody has to deal with that kind of thing at some point in their life. And eventually the kid, he did stop crying and he left his toy. But you could tell he was sulking. But eventually, like after like 4 or 5 minutes of this whole drama, he calmed down, and the mom and the kid, they went to another aisle, and she actually gave him a different kind of toy. I think what she was trying to tell him was he already had toys like that, so there was no need to get the same thing again. And she told him, well, here's something different. You could buy this thing. Why do you want the same thing? But you know what kids are like. I mean, that boy must have been, I guess he must have been 5 years old or 4 years old or something. So really young. Obviously, they don't understand reason. And, it's just kind of funny to me. But obviously, that woman, that poor woman, she must have been so mortified to have that happen. A full meltdown in public. But I don't think any one of us was like judging her negatively. I mean, we were all sympathetic. All right, let's come to part three. What are some examples of children's bad behavior? I've got a lot of personal experience with this. Of course, not as much as any living parent would have, but I worked with kids for a long time, and I've seen them do all kinds of things. I've seen kids yell at each other, of course. I've seen kids pull other kids' hair. I've seen them, hit each other on the head. Mainly just violence, but, I've also, like when I was in school in eighth grade, I there was this boy who had, I mean, some other boy stabbed him with a pencil in his hand, and that was so odd. Like, wow, that was, I think, the first time I ever saw something like that, like happening. I mean, of course, his mom was called, and everybody got involved, the principal, and things got pretty serious at that time. But that's obviously kind of like an extreme thing. Most kids will just throw tantrums if they don't get their way. They might, it's just so common for kids to yell when they don't get their way. But I also think that, it's something that they kind of pick up from the environment. If kids are gonna see adults yell and fight and, whatever kids see adults do, I think they would just learn, by immersion in that environment. So I think you've got to be really careful when you're around kids. Are parents these days stricter than in the past? Oh, no way. Parents these days are pretty lenient, I would say. And I don't mean to say it in a negative way. I think it's actually a good thing. I mean, when I think of parents like 25, 30 years ago, I would say they were almost rigid and inflexible. Nowadays, parents are. It's this idea that you kind of have to be, your kid's best friend, which, it has its pros and cons. It's of course not ideal. I mean, you're a parent, you have, a certain responsibility, and a friend does not have the responsibility. But overall, I think people nowadays, at least, people of my age and slightly older who have become parents, they are a lot more relaxed, they're a lot less rigid, very flexible when it comes to things like, just to give you an example, in my country, it's very popular for parents to have a big role in deciding what their kids study in university. And traditionally, people have been encouraged to just, study science or, study finance or something and learn coding, become an engineer, a doctor, or a scientist, something like that, right? But parents nowadays they tend to really value their child's input on their own life. And, it's a lot more common for parents now to understand and accept that their child is an individual. It has, its own desires and wishes. And I think that's a great thing, of course. How should parents stop their children from misbehaving? Where I come from, corporal punishment used to be very popular, and people used to even like just joke about it. Kids would joke about it, like, "Oh, I got hit because I did this thing when I was a kid." Um, Obviously, I think that's barbaric, and I don't support that in any way. But I also recognize that we're human beings. We're going to slip up at some point. We're going to get angry. We may yell and shout, and it's going to happen. But it shouldn't be the norm. I think that the best thing parents can really do is to ensure that they behave well, because that's what you learn from. If a kid grows up in an environment which is violent, he's going to learn violence, and it's a fact. It's a fact. You can't refute that. But if you, as a parent, you deal with life's challenges in a positive way, let's say, for example, you've had a bad day at work. Do you come home and start yelling at your wife? Do you come home and start yelling at your kids? How do you behave? Yeah, you've had a rough day. Maybe your boss really, had it out for you. But are you still able to maintain your composure, or do you lash out at others around you? How do you behave? Because that's what your child will learn. And ultimately, I think calm parents will raise calm children. Aggressive parents will raise aggressive children. I don't think it's ideal to use violence or threats or force or any of those things when it comes to parenting, because when you use violence against a child, the only thing you're teaching him or her is that might is right, and I don't think that's the right message to be teaching kids. Do you think corporal punishment is appropriate? Yeah, like I said, no, I'm really against it. I mean, if you let's say, for example, that okay, your child is, out on the street, and if he or she runs into traffic or something, and then yeah, I mean, obviously that's a very tense situation, right? You might just feel prompted to, tap his back and be like, "What were you doing? Are you crazy?" And obviously that's okay, that's understandable. The kid has to know, hey, this is a life or death kind of situation. You can't be doing that. But in general, no, not at all. Because the only thing that you're teaching a child when you hit him or her is that, like I said, violence is an answer to anything. If you're going to, hit your kids, they're going to learn that, hey, this is what I should do if I'm mad at someone. This is what I should do if I get upset. You're teaching your kid to react with violence, and I hate that idea very much, because what we need more of in the world is peace, diplomacy. We don't really need any more, anger, aggression, violence. We need less of that. All right, that was actually a very interesting set of questions. As always, please let me know if there's a question set you would like me to answer. I'd love to help you out. All right then, until next Saturday. Bye-bye.